You know, one of the strange things about left-leaning politicians around the world at the moment, and they all have these things in common, they're more committed to their own leisure time than they are leadership. Remember when there were massive there was a lot of violence in Alice Springs, and Anthony Albanese, I think, flew in for like a couple of hours and then he spent 3 days at the tennis. Remember that? And then the other thing about politicians is they're all committed to gestures, but not really to anything of substance, and certainly not governance. It's happening all around the Western world, and it certainly happened in Canada over the weekend. A brilliant example of this hypocrisy by politicians, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, thank you. You won't believe what he was doing while Montreal was literally on fire with anti-Israel protesters setting fire to cars, smashing windows, burning effigies of the Israeli Prime Minister. We'll show you the protests first, then I'll show you what the Prime Minister of Canada was doing. But this is Montreal Friday night. Absolutely horrendous for Jewish Canadians. But while all of that is happening, here's the Prime Minister. He's at a Taylor Swift concert. Aside from being a shocking look, how do you think it would make Jewish Canadians feel when Montreal is absolutely got anarchy happening in the streets, directed at Jewish people? You've got people calling for the final solution to be used against Jews, and there's the Prime Minister of the country at a Taylor Swift concert. At the very least, you get out of there as soon as you know what is happening and you provide some leadership. But we're seeing this all around the Western world. As I said, we were talking about Keir Starmer earlier, who's only been in office 4 months. He spent 26 days out of the country on international trips, which is reminiscent of Airbus Elbow, we used to call our Prime Minister. This is a theme right around the Western world, these left-leaning leaders who just seem very committed to, appearances and not that interested in governing.
Well, you might say for Trudeau, burn, baby, burn, disco inferno, because that seemed to be what he was up to on the weekend, right? I mean, it's so crazy to think that as a leader you wouldn't think that the first thing you should be doing, and he did come out and later issue a tweet.
The next day.
That fixes everything up.
So much effort.
That fixes everything up when you
like
issue
I said,
a tweet.
so
but, you know, there is serious civil unrest in your country. In Montreal, which as an MP he represents, his seat,
that's his seat.
Is in Montreal, right? So he's 400 kilometres down the road at a Taylor Swift concert, not in his own city, going out there to say, pull your heads in, dickheads. This is not how we do things in a civil society. No. He'd much rather be at a Taylor Swift concert dancing around. That's not leadership. Now, he knows that he's about to be turfed out when they go to an election. He's had his time, and to be quite frank, he doesn't give a toss what's going on in his country now, because he set it all up and it's burning, and who cares? Someone else is going to go in and fix it. But it's just the most basic optics, right? If there are massive protests, riots is what they were. You know, fire bombs, cars on fire, shop windows being smashed up, etc. You've got to be out there doing something about it. He doesn't think so, though.
And even if you're not out there doing something about it and you're just at home, say, tweeting, the last thing you want to do is being seen at a concert dancing around with a few young chicks, for crying out loud. Tell you, the guy who probably will be PM come next year of Canada, we hope, is the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre. He tweeted this in response to Trudeau's tweet saying, "Oh, this is unacceptable. Well, Pierre said, "You act surprised. We are reaping what you sowed." This is what happens when a Prime Minister spends 9 years pushing toxic woke identity politics, dividing and subdividing people by race, gender, vaccine status, religion, age, wealth, etc. On top of driving people apart, you systematically break what used to bring us together, saying Canada is a post-national state with no core identity. He goes on to talk about the military, the economy. It's a very long tweet and it's a call to arms. And it ends with the simple line of, call a general election because you are going out. And we all certainly hope that is the case in Canada. The polls reflect that it will be. So something else to smile about into the future.